When we are traumatized as children, two things happen. The first thing is a shattering of identity, the pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being, which leads to a sense of overwhelm and an awareness that we could die. And the second thing that happens when that trauma is not repaired is the world becomes an unfriendly place. And this has big implications because the world, the planet, other cultures, one's family, the universe, politics, the world is 99.9% bigger than we are. The world and us is a relationship between a very big object and a very small object. And when the world becomes unfriendly in the eyes of a child, the unknown, which is 99.9% of our world, the unknown, the stranger, becomes a threat. And in a sense, we feel doomed to fail, to die. And secrecy and avoidance, not being seen, becomes an important safety strategy. Because if you're at war with something that's 99.9% bigger than you are, your only chance of survival is secrecy and the safety from being invisible, from being unknown. The other thing that happens is a loss of trust. A loss of trust in the unknown, a loss of trust in the world, because I was violated. My pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being was shattered. The world did this to me. The world did not protect me. And in traumatically illiterate cultures, where the damage of trauma is not repaired and understood, the world did not repair the damage. The world did not make amends. And I am therefore cut off. Now, the other thing that happens is the high stimulation of the reptilian brain. The 200 million year old crocodile brain in the body is dormant in each individual. It is a fight, flight, freeze, and fawn protocol. If it's smaller than you and you can bully it, beat it. If it's bigger than you and you can run, run. If neither of those two options are available, then paralyze and freeze and hope the moment passes. And if there is an expedient sense of enlightened self-interest, become an ass licker. Find someone powerful, bigger than you, in money, in physical size, in height, whatever it is. Find someone bigger than you and please them. And ingratiate yourself. Make yourself indispensable to someone bigger than you, so that they will protect you, not because you're a human being, not because they value you as a being, but because they value your usefulness to their well-being. And this is a very important distinction, because we're in sociopathic terrain. When I value you specifically because you can make me money, And I value you specifically because you can give a good blowjob. And I value you specifically because I can use you to get to someone else. We're dealing with the reptilian brain. We're dealing with the combination of the reptile, fight, flight, freeze, and the rational brain, the pattern analyzer, which figures out how to benefit my survival, my security, at the expense of others typically. Because the reptilian brain also dissociates us from everything and everyone else. There is no love in the reptilian brain. There is no empathy in the reptilian brain. Empathy is viewed as a threat. I trusted, I was traumatized. Get that away from me. I need to act as a dissociative reptile, a cold-blooded reptile, because the world has said to me, you are disposable, your boundaries, your needs are secondary because you are not big enough to be useful yet. The child learns that they have no innate value. They are valuable to the extent that they can be used for the ends of the giants, for the ends of the world. Now, when this message does not get repaired, does not get integrated, doesn't even get owned, it's buried under cross-wiring such as love. No. That wasn't sociopathic usury. That wasn't trauma. That was for your own good. That was love. Well, suddenly love, of course, becomes terrifying, because if the decimation of identity is for our own good, then get for our own good away from us. If that was love, get love away from us. If that was being a family member, we want no part of that. So whatever words get laid down and commingled with this traumatic experience that does not get repaired, those words become threatening. Because trauma is the threat that most threatens the sense of self, the sense of ego, the identity. Now, someone in this state still has drives to procreate, to engage. However, it is in a power dynamic. It is as reptiles. And if you watch many animals and copulating, it's a predatory dynamic. Because we're dealing with a fight, flight, freeze, fawn protocol. So the masculine, male or female, the masculine role is the role of chase, is the hunter. In order for two reptiles to engage, one must pursue, must hunt, must attack, and the other must run or freeze in paralysis or fawn and ingratiate themselves. Now, the ingratiating layer in the sociopathic brain protocol is a human iterative evolution out of mental analysis. It's the reptilian brain combined with thought. You don't have to have feelings. You can just analyze patterns and say, aha, if I do this and this and this, I will have less to worry about because I will be useful. It's not a feeling of empathy or transcendence. So The sexual psychology of two traumatized people is who's going to hunt the other person, who is going to prey on the other person, who's going to flee from the hunter. And when you're in the reptilian brain, it's also important to understand that your identity as a hunter comes from the identity of the other one that runs away. Your identity as a conqueror comes from the other's identity of being conquered. So when you're dealing with polarity, the fight-flight dynamic, you will find it in an animal. One of the reasons they tell you not to run when you're confronting a bear is that when an animal or a reptilian brain encounters the other, it is in a reptilian paradigm. It's a fight, flight, freeze paradigm. And so what they're trying to decide is whether to fight or whether to run. Now, you're an unknown. What's that weird hat? I haven't seen that color before. What is this thing? What is this thing? It's a bit of an unknown. It could be dangerous. Human beings, they do all kinds of weird things. They take little pointy things out and kill things. I'm not sure. You're smaller than me. Should I attack you? But you're unknown. Should I run? So they wait. And since they don't know the answer to that, with there being enough variables usually in each human encounter to have a little bit of hesitation, they figure you know whether you're bigger than them or smaller than them. If you are smaller than them, meaning if you can't win the interaction in a fight, flight, freeze dynamic, you're going to run. And then that tells them what they need to know, that you are prey. If you can't win the interaction, then they will hunt you. They will chase you. And you reveal that by running. You've communicated and answered the reptilian brain's question, which is, am I bigger than you or smaller than you? And you've told them, you would win if you caught me. They say, great, because I'm faster running. You know, I'm a polar bear. I can run 40 miles an hour. You're a human. You can run 18 miles an hour in peak conditions. So, okay, great. I've got dinner. And so if you run, you're communicating that, and so they will chase. If you attack or hold ground, you will be suggesting to them that in your mind, you are bigger. This may throw them for a loop. Do they have one of those little pointing things? What's the unknown here? But if you convince the reptilian brain of the animal that you are bigger than them, then they will run. It's reptilian behavior. And similarly, the freeze dynamic, if they cannot run and they cannot chase, they're backed in a corner, whatever it is, they will freeze. Now, one is captured in the reptilian brain when one is traumatized and that trauma is not repaired, because the reptilian brain has a primary function of survival in a sociopathic environment. That program gets booted up when the giants, when the large patterns of energy around us, parents, etc., number one, traumatize an infant, a child, and do not repair it. In this dynamic, the infant has learned that they are surrounded by reptiles, because it takes a sociopathic brain in the giants around an infant to decide it's not worth studying parental psychology? Why would we do that? It's just a little thing. It's not important. Why would we study parental psychology? Why would we learn and really deal with our own childhood so that we could really understand what this infant is going to? Why would we plan? Why would we carefully plan for a good time to be able to nurture this child? Why would we do that? It's not important. It's small. It can't hurt us. And why would we attune to its small body? We can do whatever we want with its body and this and that because we're the big ones. We've got nothing to fear, says the reptilian brain. Well, this communicates to the infant, to the child, I'm surrounded by reptiles, and so I can't win. I can ingratiate myself, I can be used, I can freeze, I can't win. Now that this protocol has been established, the reptilian brain knows I am the best one to keep you alive. You're surrounded by reptiles. Run when something is bigger than you. Chase when something is smaller than you. Freeze when neither of those things will work. And if you can find someone who will let you use them and they will use you, you will make yourself indispensable. They will keep you alive. If you can find those, I'll keep you alive, says the reptilian brain. Now, we are now in the sexual terrain of predatory nature. So identity, as I say, is strengthened by the polarity in the other. For example, the hero identity. The hero identity is very difficult to maintain when there's no one to rescue. So if I'm attached to the heroic identity, I've got to find damsels in distress to rescue. If I'm attached to being number one, there has to be a number two, or it's kind of a weak drama. If I'm attached to conquering, then someone has to be conquered. And the more they resist, the more they protest and, I don't want to, no, don't do that. It's, yes, I'm conquering. The more you resist, the more I can be a conqueror. And I want to be a conqueror. I don't want to partner in this. No, I want to be a conqueror. And this is the chauvinistic rendition of masculinity. It doesn't matter if you're in a female or male body. The desire to conquer is a masculine, and there's masculine in women and men. It's a masculine trait. And the being conquered is feminine. In men and in women, it's a feminine trait. So this predatory dynamic, you'll find it in BDSM, you will find it in rape, you will find it in the terror of the gang. The whole point of the gang is to maximize the freeze, like we're surrounded here, so you're going to collapse, you're going to freeze, you're going to start shaking, you're going to go still. And what that's communicating is that we've shifted the dynamic. The evolution of the reptilian brain is to go from being the victim, the underdog, to the oppressor. Because that's all that's possible in the reptilian brain. When trauma does not get repaired, the reptilian brain gets strengthened in the child and the infant. And in its strengthened state, it's wanting to move from, I was violated by the big ones. I was dominated by the big ones. I was abandoned and left in a traumatized state by the big ones. I want to be the big one. That's its only possible evolution, is from victim to perpetrator, from small one to big one. And as a big one, its goal, its role is to conquer, is to dominate, is to take, is to exert power. And it's an identity that is sustained with the polarity of resistance, but running away. And so it's valuable to understand this intersection, because if your hottest, quote, sexuality is being raped or raping, is being handcuffed, is being frozen in place, is being the ass licker of a politically powerful, financially wealthy, large and well-armed person. You know, if that's in the feminine role, whether it's a male or a female, but, you know, you would think stereotypically of the little woman who pleases and stuff. And even in the story, you know, Jack and the Beanstalk, you have the little woman who puts the giant to bed and helps Jack and the Beanstalk. But you have the little woman who, oh, don't stress yourself, dear. Let me massage you. You have the prostitute in the archetype dynamic, where you're going to pay me and I'm going to please you. And if I don't please you good enough, of course you will dispose of me and do all of this, etc. But if I please you enough, you will let me, stay in the house and eat here and this and that, you know, and give me some pocket money and pay my prostitution bill. So we're in the archetype of the prostitute. You know, and stereotypically, the reason that it's a male-female dynamic, well, like why are men playing the masculine role? It's a physiological thing, because if men statistically have bigger bodies, faster bodies, I mean, let's get honest, because there's some pushback. The reason there are the female Olympics and the male Olympics, the reason that there's a female swim team and a male swim team, that there is male boxing and female boxing, is that that statistically speaking, the male body will dominate, will win in combat, in competition, the female body. It's not better or worse. We're talking about the law of mass on a physiological level. And so traditionally, the man would hunt, and the sign that the woman is available is she doesn't fight too much. You know, the statistical flirting dynamic is, I'm hunting you. It's the woman's job to look outraged. It's the woman's job to resist. It's the woman's job to run. No. But when she is chased, when she is hunted by the male that she likes, she will trip and fall. She will slow down enough so that she can be caught. She will allow herself to be convinced to have sex, to let him be the dominant one, because she likes him. And there will be, I like you. I have a fantasy of rape. I'd like you to be the one who rapes me. You know, this is the higher spectrum, like a sense of preference in the power dynamic of fight, flight, fright, freeze, and fawn. So we do not move into another kind of sexuality that is based on love. We don't have the potential from the reptilian brain. It's just not on the menu. It comes with the empathic brain. And the empathic brain comes online when enough of the trauma is healed that one can enter an empathic state of considering and trusting the other. The child is born in a transcendent state. If they're traumatized back into the reptilian state, they will operate in fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, sexually as well as emotionally, relationally, and all that. If the trauma is healed effectively, is repaired effectively in one way or another, and sometimes with the transcendence of death, the facing of death, then we have the possibility of moving into the empathic brain. Then we have the possibility of love. But when love is being faked, or just the words being used because it's been conflated with violence and other things, we're dealing with strategic pleasing, like this will please you, therefore I will say what it is. You want to hear that I love you? Okay, I love you. Because I'm in a fawn position, because I'm pleasing you, because I'm terrified of the world, because you're going to protect me. And we're still in sociopathic terrain. It's useful to understand the different operating systems of the brain. It's incredibly important because the reptilian brain is the antithesis of the empathic brain. It's not better or worse. The reptilian brain's job is to keep you alive when you're surrounded by reptiles. When those happen to be your parents, its job is to help you understand the power dynamics in play in the reptilian brain. It's only as you move into your humanity, into becoming not a reptile, but a human being, that your empathic brain and awareness comes online at all. And that is the brain that is capable of empathy, that is capable of love, that is capable of other dances than fighting and running, than preying on the one who freezes. Because this is a very exciting moment for the reptile in isolation, needing to procreate, to copulate as a reptile. Someone's terrified of me. It strengthens my identity as the predator. I feel stronger because of your terror. And because I now feel stronger, now I feel attracted to you because I'm attracted to feeling strong. And you make me feel strong by quivering, by not resisting. And the birth of the reptilian identity and its embellishment is facilitated. And I know who I am, which gives a sense of safety and security, whatever it is that you are or are not. If I have no idea who I am and what I am, and I'm afraid of the unknown, I'm in a very terrifying, frightening place. As soon as I know who I am, because you're afraid of me, now we have a reptilian rapport. And because of the degree of unresolved, unintegrated trauma, culturally and in our families, there is an element, there is a part of almost every person's brain that is running strong with the reptilian program. And one of the ways that you can tell whether it's the dominant program in your world is the sex that turns you on. If it's being beaten or humiliated, or you're chasing through a field and she can't get away, and the outlaw Josie Wales kind of brought in a lot of this reptilian energy. And so when you've got a lot of reptiles watching the movie, you've got to engage in butt and guts. It's like, is that the world we want? Is this terribly innovative? Is it terrible? I mean, how many times can you watch someone be mowed down with a machine and go, oh, it's so interesting. It's so interesting to the reptilian brain, which means it's interesting to the reptiles who watch, the blood and guts. Her dress is ripped off. Will he rape her? Will he do this? It's so very interesting. Because when you're in the reptilian brain, that's the narrative that is most entertaining. Just capturing your attention and engaging you because it's like you. Because it's like you.